But the craziest part about that whole operation was getting me out of there. And that wasn't in the movie. In the movie, they did a daylight extract. They came in, landed, and a couple of shots, and they got out of there. In real life, it wasn't like that. It was unbelievable. I mean, it was a night. And the world was blowing up. We were in this, like a volcano, like sitting in the middle of this volcano. And I remember looking down the mountain, and there's a river running down. I mean, it looked like miles down. And they had moved me. They had to carry me. I couldn't walk. And they kind of like, and we would stumble over. The Green Berets, Rangers, it was a hodgepodge. Let me tell you something. When them guys showed up to rescue me, when they found me, I was laying in a riverbed, dried up, tucked under a rock. The villagers had shoved me underneath this rock. And there was this one guy I had never met before. And he was sitting there listening to a AM/FM radio. And he was scrolling through the channels. We hand those out for morale. Like the U.S. military hands those out. He had one of them. I recognized it. And he was listening to the different channels, and I could recognize the different languages. German, Japanese. He was like, hey, they're talking about you. And I was like, okay. I didn't know who he was. He was kind of messing with me a little bit. Because I couldn't move, and he had this stinging. Anyway, it's not important. And then the Gulag and a couple of the villagers came and picked me up. They had to carry me everywhere. And they were,
why did they save you? Because in the movie, it's confusing.
It is.
Because in the movie, it's like these guys save you, and you don't know why they're saving you.
When he found me,
they have to fight the Taliban.
Yeah, can you believe that?
Crazy.
So I had been crawling for a day and some change. I was like crawling through the mountains, and I had somehow, some way got to the top of this ridge line. I was so thirsty. I mean, but I thought about this. There's an insanity that goes with thirst. I was so thirsty that I was willing to kill anything to get water. I mean, you can't even believe it. I was drinking my own urine, my own blood. Nothing would quench the thirst. I hadn't thought about this in a while. And I got to the top of this ridge line, and there was a waterfall. And I was trying to slide down into it. I was like, I'm just going to go down in here, and I'm going to hit that water, and it's going to be something good to drink. So I tried to slide down. I just took off. I got uncontrollably. I started sliding. I rotated upside down. And I remember looking over, and my rifle was sliding beside me. I couldn't throw that thing away. It's like every time I'd lose it, one of my boys was like, hey, you're going to need this. And I flipped into upside down, over backwards, into the river. And I remember my knees hit me in the face, and it knocked me out again. And I was I was a blobbering mess. Everything was broken. And I rolled over, and I remember kind of sitting on all fours. I picked my head up, and I looked up, and there was that water fountain there. And I remember sliding down. This is the craziest thing. God, I hadn't thought about this. And I remember seeing this little pool of water, and I was like, oh, that'd be a great place to get something to drink. So I crawled back up into this thing, and I leaned into that waterfall, and I remember washing my face and hands. My gloves were, I had gloves on, the mechanic gloves, and all the fingers were ripped out, and the palms were ripped out. So I just it was the best water I ever had. I'll never forget it. It's cold, and I was hurting real bad. And I remember hearing somebody screaming at me, and I kind of turned around, and over my shoulder, there was a guy standing there looking at me, pointing at me. He was like, Taliban, Taliban. So I swung around with my rifle, and then all of a sudden, behind me again, I could hear someone screaming at me. And I look up, and there's this guy standing on the hill that I'd just fallen off of. But he didn't have a weapon. He was just pointing at me. And then there were some guys on the ridgeline moving around. They had weapons. I saw them. So I turned back around, and I kind of started to crawl. I was like, man, I was in a channelized area. It was kind of bad. And I remember I was leaning against this rock, sitting on my butt. I had my rifle in my hand. I was breathing. I couldn't breathe. I'd bitten my tongue in half, and I was like, that's a crazy story. But the guy screamed at me again. I turned around to shoot, and he saw me, and he ducked behind this rock. And then, right over my left shoulder, probably 30 yards, not even that, I hear, American, American. And I kind of turned around, and it was Gulag, one of the main villagers who rescued me.